All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Hey, Adrian, what's going on, man?
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Doug, what's up, man? The man of the hour. Let's give everybody just another couple seconds here to jump on.
This laptop needs to seriously be upgraded. It does not like Zoom and multiple other programs running.
Doug, I mean, what do you got going on there, man? Like, the Apple 4C or something like that?
You got it, brother. No, this is a several-year-old Surface Book. Definitely needs to be upgraded.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Well, man, we got a good turnout here. Let me see here. We'll give everybody just another second here, man. It's been a little. We got two mobile home guys on the line here. Look at that. In this corner, weighing in at 165 pounds.
And it's been 165 pounds, no matter what my macros are, no matter how much I work out, it doesn't seem to matter.
Well, yeah. Awesome, man. Like I'm super excited for today's conversation. Doug, thank you for doing this. Tell you what, as people filter in here, let's get started here. Before we even begin today's topic, let's tell people a little bit about yourself, Doug, and how you even got into mobile home investing. And people can kind of get some background on you and your experience, and then we can start talking about specifics.
Definitely. So if you want, I do have a complete slideshow, and I can totally save that.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Here, let me give you sharing options. Let's hope you should be able to share.
Okay.
Let me know if it crashes your computer. We may have to rethink it.
Right. So I'm gonna get this thing started. And first, two questions. How long is the call?
4 hours.
Okay, perfect. That's enough time. Excellent.
Usually an hour and a half. But
gotcha. Okay.
Hey, man, people will stay on as long as it's good. So it's all on you, Doug. Like, I mean, can you keep people interested that long?
Are you kidding me? You know who you
okay, but like Friday at noon is my hard stop. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay, Friday at noon is the hard stop. Fantastic. Yeah. And my second question is, I know that this is being recorded. Is this like in a membership site, or is this going to go out on like for anybody that wants to see it?
Yeah, this is public. This is a global connect call, which is for everybody in our ecosphere that wants to learn about this. That is maybe a student with life in air, maybe not.
Got it. So I was planning on sharing numbers. I don't think I'm going to share all my numbers since this is going to go public. So
gotcha.
Maybe just one. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share. Got it?
Not yet. There it is.
All right. So first of all, hey, everybody, Doug Ottersberg. And I just want to share part of our journey retiring in 5 to 8 years with what we call secure, predictable income guaranteed. And I got that predictable income from that wonderful, gorgeous creature standing next to me there. When I asked her what she liked best about what it is that she and I are doing, she liked the fact that it's predictable. And, as a mom with kids at the time, that was super important, knowing what was going to be coming in each and every month. Pretty much with regularity and clockwork. And so that's what I want to share with you all today. So my top value is freedom, believe it or not. And I want you to know it's not something that people can just give it. You've got to go take it. All right. And at the end of the day, I want you to know everybody I've ever come across is as free as they want to be. So if you're in life and air, I know that you are searching for even more freedom in your life. And I want to share how you do that, because when you're not free, what does it cause? Stress. And that stress shows up in money. And it's going to be even more so in the coming months and maybe years. I pray that it's not, and yet we need to be ready for that. All right. That stress causes sickness physically, psychologically. People start fighting with those close to them. They start having impacts on their personal and professional life, losing sleep. I want to share with you one of the ways that we can help reduce stress. Because one of the things I've learned over the years, Wojo, and I'm sure everyone on the call can relate to this, it's your ability to manage your stress that's going to be proportional to the amount of freedom that you're willing to experience and that you can experience. All right. And so the principles being taught here at Life in Air are 100% in alignment with helping you experience the freedom you want in all areas of your life. A lot of us say that's what we want to do, when we want to do it, with whom we want to do it, and helping in a significant way who we want to help. And Life in Air helped me understand that not too long ago when I was reminded that we needed to be profitable with our business and generous with our profits. And I'll share some of that here in just a little bit. So this is what we want to help. My expectations for you: show you how you can create some secure, predictable income so that you can stop working for money, retire in 5 to 8 years if that's your goal, and enjoy that peace of mind so that you can pursue your passions. How did I get into this? Well, I once had a lot more hair, bro. That was me back in the day. And after I quit my corporate job and started my own company, I realized I needed to change things up a little bit. But running my own company really wasn't getting me where I wanted to go until I met this fine young lady. And this is literally the hand of God. This is LAX International Airport, where she and I met at baggage claim. Now, during that time, well, the family joke, if you may not have heard it, is that she picked up this baggage and been carrying it around ever since.
Named Doug.
So during that time, one of our mentors said, you need to get something other than you working for you. All right. If you don't learn to make money work for you, you'll spend the rest of your life working for it. And we had discussions about what that meant. And about that time, I picked up a book by Charles J. Gibbons, Wealth Without Risk, and then Financial Self-Defense. And that was kind of my first entree into like some specialized education. I didn't teach this in school. And then I picked up another book, Robert Allen, Nothing Down from for the 90s, and happened to be able to get a picture when he and I were speaking at the same event. I thought that was pretty cool to be able to talk to a mentor and say, hey, your stuff worked. It helped, man. And so helping other people is one of the things that I'm passionate about because it was done for me. And so I want to pass that on. Learn to make money work for you, or you'll spend the rest of your life working for it. And so I applied what we learned. And at the time I had a computer maintenance business, and I left that business. And some other time I'll share the whole long story, but since we only have till Friday, I'm gonna cut it down to the short version here. One of my original mentors was Jimmy Napier, and he taught in a way that you remembered it because he told these stories. And one of the stories he taught was a lesson about taking action when opportunity jumps in front of you. He had a friend who owned a farm who said he would sell the farm when he could net $1 million. Well, he got offered $950, and he was only going to clear, actually was going to clear $950, and he wouldn't sell because he didn't net wasn't getting his $1 million. And then the market crashed. And so this guy at 70 had to go back out and farm. And so basically Jimmy's like, hey, if you'd have just got the 950, you could have put it in the bank, and in short order, you'd have your $1 million. But now he's farming. So Moral of the story, when you got $1 million in your hand, shut your hand, okay? And when I went back and I was looking for a mobile home park, which I'll tell you about in a minute, I was able to sell my business, which is probably worth 150, 200,000, the most that my employee could get from his grandma on her free and clear house was $80,000. And I only needed 50. So when you got 80,000 in your hand, shut your hand, right? And we'll get more into that in just a moment. That $80,000 allowed Anna and I to purchase our first mobile home park. That was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It didn't look like that when we bought it. It was more of a trailer court and all that might imply, all right? But all we needed was $50,000 for the down payment. And that gave a young newlywed couple 30 grand to live on, man. I had never seen that much money all at once in my hand, right? And so there we are. This was our first home. Now imagine you're just married and you tell your wife, honey, we're gonna move into this nice metal single wide. We're only gonna be here for, I don't know, maybe a year. It ended up being about 7 or 8. She never lets me, she always lets me, helps me to remember that. But you know what, at the time, that's what we could afford. And this was our first home after we created our first vacancy in the community and we moved that thing in there. And we would park down the streets and we would sit in that front room there, which became our office. And we lived in the back bedroom. It was only 2 bedrooms. We would park down the street and we would sit there with no lights and we would take turns and we would watch where the traffic went. You know, the cars that come in and drive to a house and they're only there for a minute or two. So we created a list of folks who were going to have their housing opportunities expanded shortly, meaning they got an invitation to move. So after about 5, 6 years, we had our family was started, and this is my turning point. And I know you've probably all had one. God blessed us with our son, Stuart. And then after that, his sister, Gabriella. One day I was working in the front office and I came out and Gabby and her friend were sitting on that couch and the video ended. Yeah, it was a VCR, if you remember those things. And her friend said to her, Gabby, let's go play in your room. And Gabby looked at her and said, room, what do you mean? And the girl said, yeah, where do you sleep? And Gabby pointed to that rug right there in front of where she's sitting, because that's where she and her brother slept. And it was that moment when I realized I had to go outside so the girls and my wife wouldn't see me crying, because I totally felt at that moment like I was letting my kids down and my family down. We own the mobile home park, and yet my kids were sleeping on the floor and didn't have their own room. All right. So I had taken the bootstrap poor boy mentality about as far as I was willing to take it at that moment in time. And I knew things had to change. So I made the decision. Things are going to change. I don't know what it needs to happen, but I'm committed to finding out what I need to do to make things change. So some of you listening right now, you may be in that space right now where you need to make a change. You know it's time. Make that decision and commit. And by just doing those 2 things, you're going to align yourself with your outcome, which is super important, which I'm going to share in a moment, and you will succeed. So 94% of all failure is the system, not the people. All right. So everybody that I know of, you know, one of the biggest fears, it's not fire, it's not falling, it's letting down those that depend on us. And that's where I was. All right. 97% of folks today can't retire and enjoy the kind of life they want. And we're coming up to another phase. And we've been blessed for years now with great economy. You know what? It's going to get tougher. It is. A lot of folks are going to find themselves back in this situation like we did back in 2008. Well, there's a solution that seems to work no matter what's going on in the economy. That answer is a place where people can feel secure. Doesn't matter if they're in the city, out in the mountains, the country, the desert, by the ocean. We call it the ultimate cash flow generator. All right. It's great when real estate markets are good, and it's awesome when markets are, quote, bad, times are tough. All right. Because people want to have that place where they can afford to live. And I guess this isn't true right now. I put up here off most investors' radar over the last number of years. This niche has become a lot more popular than it used to be. All right. We've been doing this for 20 plus years, 28 years to be exact, but who's counting? All right. 28 years we've been at this. And I just want you to know, hopefully this will play. If you've heard of Harry Dent, he makes a living by writing books about the economy. And I happened to meet Harry, and this is something Harry had to say. Hopefully this will play correctly. And it doesn't.
I am with my friend Harry Dent. Harry's got something that is
Can you hear that?
Great concern for you and your family if you want to survive the coming years.
This downturn in the real estate bust and the deleveraging of the greatest credit bubble in history is going to get worse. And if you see it coming, this is going to be great opportunities. I like what people like Doug are doing. It's all about cash flow. In this downturn, more and more people are not going to be able to afford to buy a house while they do have the credit. A lot of people will be kicked out of their homes. Anything that can generate strong cash flow is going to be. That's the strategy. You're not doing it primarily for appreciation. Somewhere down the road to make it. You're doing it for cash and cash flow.
Cash and cash flow. The appreciation game, folks, is will that happen? Sure.
I am with.
But not to the extent that it's happened in the last few years. All right. We're talking about cash and cash flow right now, and techniques on and how to make that happen. And this is just one way. So we need to have the proper mindset. We need to have the right mentors, and then the mechanism to employ that. Well, okay, Doug, what is that all talking about? All right. So different people have different mentors that guide them to open the safe, all right, so that we can sleep well at night, because that's what we want. So I'm gonna rush through this. Yeah. Starts by thinking differently, figuring out what other people have done. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's one of the things, again, that was done for me as a member of Life in Air. You should be familiar with this. 4 stages of income. Creating your vision, super, super important. Hello, Life in Air vision, here it is. I even have Chucks on the wall up here to remind me of a lot of things. Create the income that you need to cover your needs. Create excess cash, and then acquire income producing assets. So cover your needs. Do you want to continue working for money? Well, stage 2, we were very fortunate. The moment we bought that mobile home park, it covered all of our needs, and we had an income producing asset. But nobody realizes the 10 years before that, getting up, staying up late, going to my side hustle, as it were, saving money, building up a business that I eventually sold to get into that. All right. All right. So if you're not wanting to work hard every day just to make ends meet, all right, once you have stage 2 covered, your needs are met, then that's where you create your excess cash flow. I did that for years by DJing at night. I did that by investing back in my computer maintenance business, generating more contracts, more business, which my mentor told me, you need to get something other than you working for you. And he told me I could do that by creating income producing assets, purchasing those with the extra cash. All right. So this should all be making sense to you for those of you that are in Life in Air. All right. Once you do that, the system then pretty much becomes a perpetual motion machine. All right. So another thing you may have heard, rich hold assets, poor have debt. Now, do rich people have debt? Of course we do. We just know how to manage it, and someone else gets to pay for it for the most part. I don't have to go to work. We don't have to go to work to pay on the note. All right. And something that I see every time I go to my garage, more stuff equals less freedom. Yeah, I thought I wanted those 4 antique cars, but guess what? Those things creak, they leak, and they need maintenance. Yeah, so none of those things on the screen are in my vision. However, whatever that is for you, just realize more stuff. We happen to, any of you bought a house like this? Wow, that is crazy. All right. Many things we desire are expensive. The truth is, the things that satisfy us are totally free. Love, laughter, and good, great, awesome relationships. Because we're only as great as the people who mentor you. So again, congratulations for surrounding yourself with an amazing group of people, just like the ones that are on this call and the rest of the members of Life in Air. For example, Coach Bill Campbell, right? He mentored the guys of Google, Apple, and Amazon. So their mechanism were their websites. What am I talking about here? Well, let's get into it. We want to create cash flow. Typical housing ladder for most people. A lot of people, when they leave home, they'll start out in an apartment. And then the way I see things, and especially in our areas, people will buy a mobile home in a park. Then they may go buy a mobile home with land. And then a lot of people will want to go up to a site-built home. All right, those are pretty much the 4 rungs of the ladder. Our job's not to have an opinion about where people want to be on that ladder. Our job is to supply that option and help them make it a reality in their world. Does that make sense? Got it, everyone? Okay, cool. So what I found over the years, the top 3 cash flow creation strategies are mobile homes in parks, mobile homes on land like Adrian does, and then mobile home parks, okay? So those are the 3 primary areas, and I'm gonna give you some examples. So how do we go about doing that? Well, it's a 4-part puzzle. The first part is you gotta acquire it, all right? Is this an easy system? Yes. Can you do it? Yeah. Will you do it? Up to you. You've got to make that decision and commit. All right. So the first thing we do when we're buying a manufactured home or one with land is we do our best to buy it wholesale for cash. And you might be thinking, well, I don't have cash. Well, then your job becomes make friends with someone who does. All right. And be willing to do the work for them. We did that for years and years. We then will turn around and sell that unit for retail. And here's the key: owner financing. Well, Doug, I don't have enough money to sit around and wait. I need money now to pay my bills. Okay, well, that's where step 3 comes in. It's called recycle your money. I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. And then farm it. Well, what's farming? You plant the crop, you tend it, you water it, you weed it, you harvest it. You keep doing that over and over and over. And then you repeat the process over and over and over and over. All right. Now, people have asked me, but Doug, owner finance. Well, there are some exemptions under the Consumer Act. And in many states, you'll need to check where you live, but a lot of states will say 1 or 3 properties in any 12-month period. So seller financing is possible under those scenarios, or there is a service called Call the Underwriter. And for a fee, they will process your paperwork and underwrite your buyers so that your paperwork and everything is totally okay. All right. So just be aware of that. So once you acquire that home, then it's time to collect the cash. Now, Anna and I call that peanut butter cash flow. All right. So just, hey, how many of you are chunky people? I mean, how many of you like chunky peanut butter? Sorry. All right. Now, do we got them smooth people out there? You like the smooth better. All right. You got that. All right. Got them smooth ones. All right. We got them chunky lovers, and then we got the smooth lovers. Now, what does that have to do with cash flow? All right. So when we purchase one of these homes, for example, here is an example of a chunky deal. So busy mom of three creates $5,000 to $10,000 cash per month in her quote spare time. How many of you know a busy mom of three kids that has any spare time? Right? All right. And neither does the dad. All right. However, it can be done, and you can do this. It will work where you live, and you can do this in your spare time. Again, you've got to make the decision and commit. Will you commit at least an hour a day towards your freedom? I would like to think you would. Here's a picture of Anna standing in between two homes. She was buying one, and the other lady came out and said, "What you doing?" She's like, "I'm buying this home." "I'd like to sell mine. Would you buy it?" What's the answer? "Well, of course I'll buy your home. Let's talk about that." All right. I mean, how many of you could get into making over $5,000 for just a couple of hours of work? Well, in this case, she invested $10,940 to buy this home. Now, I want you to understand this was, if I were to blow that up, that was 2004. All right. That was a number of years ago. Does it still work? Yes. That 10,000 that she just spent, you're going to probably see that number today be closer to 25 or 30. But the principle still works. All right. She sold it for 16. If she's putting in 25 or 30 today, she's now going to be selling at 35 to 40. It's called inflation. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island, and you'll learn more about that. All right. So in 10 days, she was able to do that. We happen to be in a market right now in our area where it is extremely minimal supply of homes for sale. All right. The reason that I want you to remember owner finance is that your postman should never pass your mailbox without leaving you some cash. All right. Every time you go to the mail, I want you to feel like it's Christmas. Yes. Right. So again, I told you, for my wife and for me, frankly, predictable cash flow equals peace of mind. And hopefully my computer will, well, it didn't. But basically, this is a video I took of my wife one day in our office. We have one of those drop slots, and around the 10th are when all the payments are due on our mobile homes that we've sold and financed. And we had one of those like big white mail tubs, the deep ones. And she literally was like pouring it out, and like tons of these envelopes came out, and they're all the payments that are coming in. So she really likes that. So here's some numbers, guys. In this case, she invested $12,000 in a home. She sold it for $24,900. We always look to make at least a $10,000 spread. In this case, our buyer put $3,500 down. That's a 16% down payment. That means we had $8,500 left in the deal. Now, the buyer owes us $21,400 at 15%. And they're going to make 84 payments of $412.95. Now, what if you didn't have the $12,000? Well, you could hit a credit card, you could hit a financial friend. All right. Now, let's say you hit up a financial friend. They would immediately get the $3,500 to them, and then your financial friend would still be owed $8,500. Now, the buyer owes you $412.95 a month. All right, everyone following me? Now, if you were to whip out your financial calculator and put in present value $8,500, and then put in 84 under N and 412.95 under payment, and if you solve for interest rate, you'll get a number like 57%. That would be your return on your investment. That would be pretty good. Or in my world, we just say, that's good enough. Good enough, all right? So how can you recycle your cash and reinvest it? Well, let's say, for example, you had the $12,000 and you got back the 35. Or in this case, what if you worked with a private lender and you just borrowed all the money that you needed? Well, in this case, if your buyer owes you 21.4 at 15% for 84 months, they're paying you $412. You could borrow 12 grand from a private lender, pay them 8%, and you could pay them off in 3 years at $381. So you're basically getting $3,500 down now, which you could keep, and you're making a spread of basically 20 some dollars-ish every month. All right. Now you can use that to go and create another income stream. Do the process again. All right. I want you to remember, private lenders are people, they have a heart. Banks are just by the book. Private lenders are typically not underwriting the asset as much as they are you. All right. And it's very, very important. Return of their capital, return on their capital is just as or more important than their return on their investment. All right. So plug into the right network. Life and Air is a great one. You may have other ones locally that you can plug yourself into, and just always present yourself and your deal in the best possible way. Take care of them. They'll take care of you. So we got a chunk, all right, which is the $3,500. That's the chunky cash flow. Then we got some of that smooth, creamy cash flow. So over the course of that note, we collected $1,121 in the spread. After we paid back our private lender, the buyers still owed us $19,821. So now we get to keep that entire $412 a month. All right. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, that's $412. It's like, yeah, you're right. How much is your phone bill? How much is your insurance? All right. And if you follow this process, okay, 1 month you knock out one of those bills. You do it again, you knock out another bill. So pretty soon, again, all your needs are met. Now your expenses and overhead are being covered by someone else. Money is working for you. All right. So just in that one deal, we got about 24 grand. Land home deals. This is the manufactured home on private land. We happen to like bank foreclosures because there's not as many cash buyers. And here's a clue. When somebody loans you $12,000 and you pay them back faithfully, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, pretty soon, if they've got it, meaning they got the money, you can get it because you've established a track record and you've shown them that you know how to do smart and responsible things with buyers and with money. Another thing is there's typically a lack of financing, commercial financing, I should say. And what I like about land home deals is it's great if you sell a mobile home to somebody in a park, once they pay it off, now they might, remembering the ladder, they might want to own a mobile home on land. So you can sell them land and they can move their home, or you can take their home in the park as a down payment and get them into your land home deal. So again, you're farming because you're growing customers in the mobile home deals for the land home deals. And then you can put your private lenders into bigger deals, because a lot of times once they get their money invested, they don't always want it back. They want to keep it working. All right. And one of the things that we've found over the years is that some of the land home deals that we've purchased, we could keep them, especially if the land has value or future value. So we've done that as well. And one of the biggest key points, as I said, this is all about cash and cash flow, just like Harry Dent said. Land home deals will typically cash flow and give you a good return when a lot of other rentals won't, especially over these last few years of high prices. So here's an example. This is, we call lasso, like a lasso. Or how to never end up broke or homeless. And so this particular home is in a subdivision that was done for manufactured homes. And I found it, and I called and I got a hold of the loss mitigator at the bank. And he said, "Oh, I just listed that. Here's the name and fax number of the broker." I hung up and I faxed my offer and called the broker just as my fax was getting there. We paid $29,000 for that. At today, it's probably still worth about $130,000. All right. So we paid cash. How did we pay cash? By this time, I had a line of credit set up, and I had a couple of credit cards, which we would hit, get into a deal, and then we would figure out how to refi. So that built up our credit. In this case, we did go refinance at a local bank because we have real estate investing, real estate as collateral. Then using the Life in Air formula, we created extra cash and put all that extra cash to pay off the bank loan. All right. So making sense? And now we have a free and clear asset. Now, I'm not going to get into asset protection today. However, there are plenty of classes out there where you can learn how to, shall we say, find a friendly lender. And we put a line of credit mortgage on our property. And we call that the Citadel. It's the fallback property. So it's not if, but when you're in this business, you will find what people will call a smoke and deal. Don't sell it for cash. All right. Keep it, get it paid off, and then cover it up with good debt, friendly debt. And it's good to know that this property, along with several others that we bought over the years, we've been able to create a line of credit with a private lender that when a mobile home park came up for sale and the buyer offered it to us, but we were a little short of cash, we were able to quickly get the cash we needed against this and several other properties. All right. And Anna and I sleep really well for years now, knowing that, hey, if everything got really, really bad, we had to sell, we would never, ever be broke. We'd always have something that we could start over again. So take that for what it's worth. Here's a great deal we did. This is a lot, and it puts about $6,000 a year into my Roth IRA. Now, we bought the land from the Homeowners Association. Again, this is a subdivision that was done for manufactured homes. We paid $45,000. We got the cash from a private lender. All right. I want to make a big note here. Any non-recourse debt that's financed, any non-recourse debt financed income that's held by your IRA will generate something called UBIT, unrelated business income tax. And you need to be aware of that. So if you're doing anything with an IRA that involves non-recourse debt, you need to file a return on that and pay UBIT. Your tax professional is required. I am not a tax professional, nor do I play one on TV. Okay, so just want you to know that. I did pay the UBIT. We bought an 80 models home and put it on the lot. We sold off the mobile home for $9,900, $2,000 down, 15%, 36 months. After that, they owned the home free and clear. And now they're just paying my Roth $500 a month. Again, so even if, things go south, we got some money coming in safely sitting over there in that dirt in that other unit. And now we got $500 a month for groceries. I don't think Anna and I will be eating much more than that if we should ever need it. Okay, that might pay for our supplements for a month, but who knows? In any case, here is an example of a trade up, folks. This was a bank foreclosure in another subdivision around our area that was done with a lot of manufactured homes in it. It was a bank foreclosure. We paid $65,000 cash using a private lender. And we set up a first mortgage, which is interest only, no payments due for 36 months. Why would we do that? Well, we did all the necessary cleanup and we did a light rehab. We got about $5,000 cost. Total investment was $70,000 in this deal. Now, again, these numbers are from a few years back. But we sold to one of our buyers that had paid off their mobile home. And here's why we did no payments due to our lender. They have a first mortgage. All right. We sold it on what's called a wrap, meaning we sold it and the money that our buyer owes us wraps around the money we owe our investor. If you're not familiar with that, that's something you're going to want to be familiar with, because I believe we're all going to have some opportunities to use that in the future. I also helped prepare and position our buyer so that in 3 years, they would be able to demonstrate, yes, we are in chain of title. We own this property. We now have a 3-year payment history, and we helped them get their credit cleaned up. We did everything we could to position them. Remember, we had 70 grand in it. We sold it for 119. The value was about 130. Why would we sell it for less than the value? Because we wanted to make darn sure that that home, when it appraised, they could qualify for a 70%, at least 70%, if not 80% loan. They came up with their mobile home and some cash. They got a trade-in or a down payment credit of $17,000. So $102,000 is about 78% of that 130. At the time, they could get an 80% loan. So we arranged things and we still came out. We made $44,000 on that. It took about 3 years. But all the time that we put in it was not 3 years. For most of that time, all we were doing was, after the deal was put together, we were just depositing checks and writing one to our mortgage guy. Here's Dale Circle. Not long after I had to leave and went outside so my wife and the girls wouldn't see me crying, I was driving down the street and I saw a mobile home subdivision being built. We went in and we put an offer in on a lot, and they came back and said that's already under contract. So we put an offer in on this lot. It was vacant at the time. Not long after that, they called us and said, hey, the first one, the deal fell through. Which of the two do you want? Well, by that time, I had been working on my mindset. So what do you think my answer was? I want them both. I will take them both. So in this case, we bought a used manufactured home. We had it brought in, set up, again, using a private lender. And we sold that and we made $30,000. We bought the lot for 59, 90 models, double wide for 30. Our other costs were 40 grand, the foundation, installation, utilities. We sold it for 159. I want you to know that most presenters will always show you the deals that worked and will give you testimonials to prove that, hey, we're not special, anyone can do this. I do want you to know that while each deal may have similar structure, they will each have their own unique issues. And again, it's your ability to deal with stress that will determine how much success you get to and how much freedom you get to enjoy. Because for every one easy deal, you will have a bunch of tough ones. And I can see some of you like, been there, done that. All right. Each deal that is worthwhile will test you. And that's when having a mentor can mean the difference between failure or success. And I've been learning a lot over the last year or so that, hey, when life calls you to step up and when you're ready, it's about growth. It's about the process you go through and grow to become a better human being, as much as it is about realizing the outcome. All right. Any questions with that so far, or should we just keep rolling here?
Are there any questions?
Okay.
Guess not, Doug.
Okay, awesome. So let's keep going then. So the next part of the cash flow generating system is a puzzle for a lot of folks. Now there's all kinds of things that you can get into. Single family homes, short sales, foreclosures, stock market, apartments, land, self-storage. We've dabbled in most of these things. But the one thing that keeps coming back over and over are our mobile home parks. Because we found early on that all you need is one to put your income generation on autopilot, right? So like, how much are we actually making? Well, I want you to understand again how this happened. Because most people start out at the beginning of the month and they have more months left over when they get to the other side of the calendar than they do finances. And we don't want that for you, and we didn't want that for our family. Now, I got to tell you, Wojo, this was awesome, coming back and putting these slides together, because I haven't been presenting for a while. I decided that I wanted to spend more time with my family. And now that most of my kids my two oldest are out of the house and my youngest is in his second year of college, I realized none of us look like that anymore. And I'll share with that in a minute. But just one of these homes, the first community netted about $9,500 a month, about $115 a year. All right. And that was more than enough for us to cover our needs. So then we covered our needs and we started generating excess cash flow, which we then accumulated to put into more cash flowing assets. All right. Took care of the housing, took care of the transportation, takes care of our bills, and spending time with the ones that we care about and traveling and seeing different places. All right. We don't talk about this as much, but again, it's not so much the things or the stuff. Having the benefit of hindsight now, I realize that the time that we've been able to have with our kids growing up, it's irreplaceable. You can't put a price on that. Got it. So Michael, I just saw that. Michael says, what's the difference between a land deal and a park deal for mobile homes? So a land deal is a single piece of land, one legal description, that has one manufactured home on it. A park is a piece of land that can have multiple manufactured homes on it. And that's typically a difference in zoning. So you would have to look at the land use code wherever the area going. All right. Now, and then average ongoing cash flow per month after all expenses. Is it lot rent at $500 per month after the buyer pays off the financing? Now, in that case, yeah, they're putting the $500 per month in, and I would have to look to see, basically the only thing we have to pay are the taxes, and they're not huge. So we pay the taxes, they pay all the utilities, the homeowners association fee, everything else. So in that case, that's a one lot. So, okay, Michael, got your question there. All right, so what about 2? Even though all you need is 1, what about 2? Well, we bought our second community, and it just leads to more opportunities, all right? Because again, this is not the things they teach in college. They don't teach this in school. It's all about specialized education. And at the time when we were learning this, there were not, the internet was just starting. There weren't a whole lot of books I could go to. So it was going to meetings. It was getting in groups like Life in Air and just meeting people and finding teachers and going to classes and seminars. And once we were able to do our second, our income jumped about 15 grand, about 173. And so when you start getting there, then you start having a lot more options. But again, it's just getting that ball rolling. All right. So I'm going to take off share for a moment. And I'm just going to talk from here out because I had some slides that I'll share with you if we're private, that there's some company info that I'm not going to share that if it's going to go out publicly. But basically, here's what you want to know. Well, I can go here and then let's say share screen. So cash flow creation strategies, we've got the mobile home parks. And then we already talked about mobile homes in parks and then on private land. So mobile home parks, manufactured home, land lease communities. Again, it's a piece of land that is zoned such that you can have multiple manufactured homes sited there, wherein they pay you lot rent every month. And it's as simple as buying the property, increasing the income, decreasing the expenses, then refinancing and repeating. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So what are we looking for? I'm looking 50 to 100 units. Why? Because most of the institutional investors, regional investors, there has been, if you haven't been noticing, a tsunami of cash out in the market looking for returns. And one of the things that has done for manufactured housing and communities in general, after certain folks started talking about them on their podcasts and raising the public awareness of them and investors' awareness of them, it drove the price up because people were looking for anything that would generate a return. And the more people that want to buy something, the higher the price goes and the lower the return gets. That's called the capitalization rate. So most of them want more than that. And the primary reason is so that it can afford to have a manager. So I'm like, well, if everyone else is looking over there, I'm going to look down here. And if we can get several of these in a geographical area, then we can have some scale by proximity and go a different way. We really like public utilities. However, I will say that if it has a water well, those are okay. I don't really like septics or packaged sewer plants. It's also great if you can get them where their minimum lot size is 50 by 100. I like minimal amenities. Okay, there are communities that have golf courses and clubhouses and swimming pools, and that's all nice. That's expense and work and or employees. It also helps to have a decent local economy where people that will work can work. And I got to say, in 28 years, we've always been proud of the fact that we serve a population where there's a lot of pickups with tools in them. And those people would go to work and either, working with tools, construction, landscaping, or in hospitality and making up beds and cleaning rooms or serving. And we always said, as long as there's work to do, our customers will work. We never anticipated COVID. Black swan event if there ever was one. And I'm proud to say that the majority of our residents were able to find work and would work and did work during that time. So it stood up. So acquiring, the first move to acquire, all right, so that you can help provide that monthly cash flow to your family. I want you to remember, for a lot of these smaller communities, they are providing cash flow already to the family that owns them. And remember, baby boomers are retiring now. And so there may be some folks out there that are getting tired of managing and would like to find a younger person to take over the management. We've been able to do that on multiple occasions, all right? So our first choice when that occurs, when we can find that person that owns it, is owner financing. And it's basically, hey, unless you have a lot of need for a big wad of cash right now, what are you going to do with the money? And we'll have a conversation with folks, and quite often they're just as soon, if I give you, you're going to pay a bunch of taxes, and then you're going to give it to the bank, and what are they going to pay you? Tell you what, I'll pay you double what your bank will pay you. I've tried that several times, and they smiled and say, "Nice try, buddy." Right? But in any case, owner financing is one of our preferred ways of getting into an asset like this. And when that comes up, they'll say, "Well, I already have a mortgage." That's okay. I'll buy it subject to your existing mortgage, and you and I'll go down and we'll talk to your lender, and we'll get their permission in writing to do it. And we've done this multiple times now and have not had a lender say no. When you own a community, you have multiple revenue streams. You've got lot rental, you've got home sales, you can finance the homes in accordance with the law, as I described earlier. If you want to, in some areas, you can actually own the home and rent them. We do here in Santa Fe, not really because we want to, we do it to control the home. If we were to allow people to sell it, they would remove it, and then we would have a difficult time finding another home that size to put in there. So we will typically just own the home and bring them in. So you got a question here. Oh, nope, that's a comment. Thank you. You are welcome. Yes. Okay. Another benefit is that the manufactured home community has a lower expense ratio than your average apartment. This slide has typical 50% for apartment, mobile home communities, manufactured home communities are about 30. Those have probably risen up over the last couple of years. Insurance has gotten more expensive, utilities, but in general, you own dirt, and it's hard to hurt dirt. All right. And so you don't have as much maintenance expense. You don't have, assets and like roofs that need replacing. So that's a good thing. And they're fairly simple to operate. Now, if you have a single family home and that person gets laid off or they move and you have a vacancy, and let's say you have a mortgage, what happens? Who has to cover the mortgage now? That's right, you do, right? When you have multiple people sending you cash each and every month, if one of them gets laid off or moves or whatever, it's not that big a deal, as long as you buy it right. And so you receive the money from your residents, and then you pay your mortgage, and then you pay your bills, and then the rest goes in your vault to accumulate for when the next deal comes up. All right. And so this is why Anna and I say that when we sell mobile homes and finance that, when we buy or rent them, or when we have a land home deal and buy a mobile home park, literally, this is what creates this money machine, this cash flow creation machine. Literally just stick our hand out and money falls in it. And we're then again able to go do the things we want to do, travel, spend time with the people we love, shelter ourselves. All right. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing again. And I did see we have a question. How do you go about talking with the bank about taking projects subject to and getting them to approve it? I have subject to without talking to the bank. I've never heard about talking with the bank. It's not assuming the loan. So you can do both ways. In our case, I mean, you can talk to the bank and you can choose not to talk to the bank. I've done both. However, in this case, let me give you an example. We bought a community. It was in a small town. The current owners were well known around town. They were with a law firm, practiced law. And so we went in with the seller and we brought our resume and we sat down and we chatted with the bank and say, hey, you happy with the loan on that community? Yep. All right. We would like to purchase this community, and we've been talking with, let's say, Bill here, and we understand that you have the first mortgage on it, and you're happy with it. And one of the things that we want to get off on the right foot, and we just want to purchase the community, and we want you to know that we would like to have the seller carry back the financing subject to your first lien. Here is what's good for the lender. What's good for the lender is they already have a borrower on the note that they've already done their due diligence on. All right. And so they're still on the note. They're not going away. And now they have somebody else that's going to be in there as well. And they checked us out. They didn't do a whole lot of work. But if that makes sense, we went in with the seller. The bank's still in as good or better collateral position that they were in. And in that case, the bank said, yeah, sure, no worries. We've done that on 3 different communities. So, and we've also bought properties in single families where we just took it subject to, and I've got one I've been paying on for over 20 years. That lady's credit is really good now. And I never asked the bank to do anything there. All right. Jimmy wants to know, do you avoid mobile homes that were built before a certain year? Yes, sir. 1976. In 1976, the HUD code was rewritten, and therein is the confusion many people have about what's a manufactured home, what's a mobile home. If it's built before 76, it's a mobile home. If it's built after 76, it's a manufactured home. Why? Because that's what's written into the code. All right. Frank wants to know, is depreciation handled differently for mobile homes than from single family homes? The answer is no. And again, I am not a CPA, nor do I play one on TV. Ask your friendly tax professional to verify. Okay. So let's see, I have stopped sharing, and I'm just gonna give you a few numbers here. Back in 1994, we purchased our first community. And this is what happens when you decide, when you make a decision and you become committed to a cause, to an outcome. You may have heard of the law of attraction. Well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you say, I want this, and then you sit underneath a tree in the lotus position and you wait for Amazon to bring it to you. That's not how it works. All right. How it works is when you make up that decision and you say, this is what I want, then the world says, okay, get ready, it's coming. And then I have to tell you, it's just amazing the things that have happened in our lives once we made a decision and committed to it, and then just followed our intuition. There is no way we could have ever planned out step by step what actions to take. Give you an example. The first community we bought, I found because I asked. How many of you have heard, ask and ye shall receive? Seek, knock, and it'll be opened unto you. This is exactly what I'm talking about, friends. I was at a seminar in the early 90s. I went for the first time with my friend and his mom. And his mom said, now boys, keep your mouth shut and keep your ears open. And remember, you never know who you're sitting next to. Some of these folks might look like they shop at Goodwill. I guarantee you they could write a check to buy this hotel and it would clear. Okay. And so that's how I entered into this seminar. And then sitting there, I realized after talking with a number of them that they owned mobile home communities. And I learned a lot from them. I went back home, I thought about it. I came back to another meeting of that teacher. And during a Q&A session, I raised my hand. I said, I really like these mobile home park things. I don't think they'll work where I live. And at the time I lived at 7th and Spring in downtown Los Angeles, which is basically Skid Row. And there weren't very many mobile home parks down there. Well, they were all around. I had never seen them because I wasn't aware of them. And my mentor at that time said something that changed the course of my life. He said, well, son, you ain't no tree, y'all can move. Go somewhere where it will work. Or if you don't want to move, invest where it will work and the postman will bring you a check. And that really was what I needed to hear at that point in time. And went back home, thought about it. At the next time I was at that seminar, I was able to sign up and make a presentation to the group, which basically went like this. Hi, my name's Doug. I'm from LA. I want to buy a mobile home park. I recently found out I'm not a tree. I will go wherever that deal is. Right? Did I make a decision? Yes. Did I commit? Yes. I got into alignment with an outcome. I didn't say what mobile home park. I didn't say where it was. I didn't say how much it cost. I didn't say how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know any of those things. I just said, I want to buy a mobile home park. I will go wherever that deal is. And from that moment, the pieces just lined up. I went back home. I got a call a couple of weeks later. In that seminar, there were two guys from Albuquerque, New Mexico. One of them was a broker. He generated a lead list of people that would sell their mobile home parks, called me. I flew over. We drove around the state. and I saw a mobile home park. And after reviewing the numbers, it was the first one that made any kind of sense from what limited experience I had and limited education I was able to get. It appraised at 640. So they were asking 640. I offered 590 and 30,000 cash. And the guy said, I will take 590 and 50,000 cash, and we shook. And they drew up the papers, and I signed it, and I flew back to LA. At the time, I was running a computer maintenance company, and one of my technicians say, how'd your trip go? I bought a mobile home park. Now I just got to figure out, where am I going to get $50,000? I have no clue. And he asked me, well, what are you going to do with our business, the business here? Are you going to sell it? Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to. Do you have a buyer? No, I'll buy it. Like, what? Yeah, let me see. I'd like to buy it. We had never talked about this before. He went home. He talked to his grandmother. Her house was free and clear. And then this is where when you've got $1 million in your hand, shut your hand comes into place. Yeah, the business is worth 150, 200. She could get $80,000 quickly. That became the sale price. So we did the deal. That's how we found it. We wrapped the existing financing. Now, this may work for you. I don't know. At the time, I sold my business, so I was technically unemployed. I used to live in my business, so now I'm homeless. And when I went to the lender at the bank, they said, hi, I'm here because the seller here wants me to assume his loan, which means I take over and I agree to pay it. Taking it subject to means I'm not taking it over. I'm not legally responsible for it. I am going to make the payments, though. He wants me to see if you'll let me assume it and let him off of the hook. Now, you and I both know you're not going to do that for an unemployed homeless dude. And he laughed and he said, yeah, you're right. But, we don't have any issue with you taking it subject to. I'm like, you'll put that in writing and sign it for me? Oh, sure, we'll do that. And so that's how that worked. Now, the day that Anna and I closed on this property, we became financially independent. That was income generated in excess of our monthly needs. And all those pieces came together. There was no way that we could have managed to make that happen. So what did we do right? Here's what we did right. We looked at a bunch of deals. We made that decision and we committed to it. And then we took action. I got a call. This could be the one. Let's go check it out. We happened to find a motivated seller. The specialized education that I had been receiving up until that time taught me about such things as subject to and wrapping existing financing. I understood what a subject to was, or a contract for deed. In New Mexico, here we call them real estate contracts. I had learned enough to know, like, oh wow, we bought like the worst property in a good neighborhood, because you can bring a property up easier than you can a neighborhood. And we bought with the right things wrong. What were those things? Well, they were easily corrected. Management indifference, motivated to get out of a deal. They just needed somebody that was able to be neat, clean, and tidy, and somebody that would assist residents that no longer fit the desired profile to move somewhere else. What could we have done better on that first deal? Well, we could have got a better price, and after 28 years, guess what? Didn't matter. We got into the deal. We could have gotten better representation. We could have learned about water rights, but guess what? We learned about water rights because they're very important here when you have a well, and we paid for another seminar over the next 7 years as we sued the seller. We bought a community that had old it had a lift station. It had old sewer lines in it. We had funky electrical. We had a poor condition road. But guess what? In the end, it didn't matter. After my wife and I went to work and we cleaned that place up and we reinvested into it and we treated the residents right and we got in good residents and we brought in newer homes, and eventually we were able to refinance it, and then we pulled out over $1 million, which we have put in our pockets and redeployed into other assets over the years. So got a couple of things here. Erica, excellent. You're welcome. And yes. Yeah, yes. Good. Mobile homes are in Erica's future, and definitely we're working on that. So we'll be coming back with more information. Okay, anything else? So
we got about 10, 15 minutes left here before the 90-minute mark.
Got it.
Give me some questions, guys. Like Doug is a true expert. I've known Doug for 10, 12 plus years at this point. I've had the blessing of being in the Life in Your community with him. He's spoken at our Life in Our events. He's a real deal. He does this stuff. He's a great guy who likes people to succeed. Like if you have any questions, like this is a great opportunity to pick his brain here. And just, he has a lot of experience here. So really, I mean, we got a little time here. Feel free to please take advantage of it.
I'm only doing this because it's really hot over here and I don't have air conditioning in this room. And I run hot anyway. I guess I'm like, what, Pitta? Okay, or is that Vata? I don't remember, whatever. Okay, Craig wants to know, why not homes that were built before 1976? Okay, in general, most of those homes were built to a lower standard. Many of them used aluminum wiring, which can cause challenges, sparking, and we don't like sparks in manufactured homes. Unless, of course, you want to get rid of it. Oh, that's a different story for another time. Backhoes are much better. So that is primarily why. Now, that said, we inherited some pre-76 homes, and some of them were built okay. Some of them were well taken care of. In fact, just quick aside, we purchased one of the first homes we purchased and brought into our community in Santa Fe was in 1972. We just needed it and it was cheap and we could get it. So we brought it in. And then recently we had a lady came in that was looking to rent a home. And after chatting with her for a while, my wife said, hey, you know what? I just bought this older home. Instead of us rehabbing it, would you like to own a home? And that lady's face lit up. She's like, what? I could own a home? And yeah. And then after chatting with her for a while, my wife's like, would you like a job? So it ended up that, yeah, so she's helping us out now and she's got her own place. And so in some cases it works out, but just in general, we want to have newer homes when possible, just because they're built better. They look better. If you go drive around, if you do what I call like riding the speed bumps, you can tell most of the houses that were built in the 70s, they've got these like round roofs on top of them and they're usually metal. And And then around 1980, they got this small metal pitch thing going on. And then now you can kind of see the differences as you drive through. That's that. Now I will share. Oh, here we go. I may have missed this, but what kind of returns are you looking to get? Okay, I'll share this with you. So back in 1994, that community sold for $595. At the time, that was likely to have been close to, if not exceeding, a 10% return. Now, we can, at some point in the future, if you want to go into this in more depth, I think Jason might have a way that we can help you do that. And we'll work together to make that happen. But for now, basically for income properties, you have your annual income minus your vacancy and expenses gives you your annual net operating income. And whatever that number is, if you divide it by the rate of return you want, that is called the cap rate. That will give you the price. So let's just say that community, $595, let's say its NOI at the time was $60,000. Okay, so after income, less expenses, it netted $60,000 or $59,500. If you want a 10% return, you would pay $595. So I want a 10% return. Well, if you've been noticing what's happened to prices over the last number of years, the government's printed so much cash, and all that cash is looking for returns. They're willing to accept lower returns, therefore they pay higher, they pay more for properties. Now, I ran the numbers just because I was anticipating somebody asking this question. So at a 10% return, I paid $595. Today, based on what people have been paying, they've been paying 3% caps, 4% caps. This community today, back in 94 at $595,000, in 2022 at a 5.5% cap would be 4.4 million. An 8% cap, 3 million. Bless you. So, yeah, I know that's kind of hard to take that. That's a huge jump. Bless you.
Oh, thank you. I need it.
So Jason, we're getting some questions here.
Yeah, man. So JT, I see a question about, now Doug, I don't know if you actually have a book, but what I can tell everybody on the line right now is, so Doug and I have been discussing mobile home park investing for some time. This is Doug's forte. He's done a lot of education and teaching and helping people with this. And so what we have done is Steve and I discussed this, and Doug actually has a mobile home park investing course that he had written a while ago. And him and I went through it together. And there were some things that we felt that to bring it up to date and revise it and expand and improve it based on today's kind of market and conditions, this would be something that would be really valuable for life in our community. And so with that being said, Doug has graciously agreed to provide this course once it's revised and once we go through it. And I cannot give you a timeline on this. This is Doug out of the generosity of his heart doing this. And so I'm not, I can't rush him. Okay. We can, and he's going through it, but this will be available for free for all Life in Air members. Okay. So this isn't for the general public. And Doug, I don't know if you have plans to sell this or not. That's of course your thing. And if you are, let people know where they can buy it if they're not a Lifeonaire member, or we could have a separate discussion if you want to become a student of Lifeonaire. And Doug has graciously agreed to do this because our connection with Doug goes way back, and there's a great relationship there. And so he has generously provided this for our students to help them along with that. It's been an amazing act of generosity. So please thank him for that. And I see we probably have half the people on this line are students right now. So this is coming your way here. I don't know exactly when, so you'll have to kind of hang tight on that. But Doug, is there anything else that we could say about the course that people might want to know, or we can give them a preview a little bit?
Basically, a lot of what we've been discussing here is, in there, and it really comes down to, at this point in our lives, I want to share something with you all, because let me know when you got that.
Yeah.
I'm all about transformation. And, we've been able to transform our lives, our families' lives, and literally hundreds and hundreds of people's lives. I got to tell you, there's no better feeling than when you take an old broken down property like we did. When we moved in there, guys, folks, there were drug dealers, there were gang members, and we had our windows broken out. We had our lives threatened. We had our porch firebombed. We stuck with it. And we got that place cleaned up. And after a couple of years, there was definitely a change in the place. We started seeing kids playing outside. And one of the men that lived, one of our neighbors, our residents, came in, and he was literally crying. He's like, I want to thank you guys, because I'm not ashamed to say I live here anymore. And that's the impact that you can have on your friends and your neighbors. And you can, as we say, you can do well by doing good. And so, I want to help transform other people's lives, because that's happened to us. Now, I told you, Jason, it was a lot of fun going through here, because this is my son there in the purple. That was his high school graduation picture. He's already been out of college for a couple of years. And that young man down there in the lower corner there next to him, that's him right now.
Man.
The tall one. Okay. Just in retrospect, everybody, I want you to, it's just been an amazing ride, because our daughter there in the middle, she's an actress. She's currently performing in North Carolina, in Flat Rock, in West Side Story. And she was home this summer, and they did a photo shoot in my 63 Impala Super Sport in front of the mobile home where she grew up. She just has nothing but fond memories. They grew up there, right? And so we want to provide that for other families. This was our Christmas card last year, and that's again in front of that first home where they grew up. And if you can't read what it says, mess with me, you mess with the whole trailer park. All right. But, again, literally, it's just about having fun, transforming lives. And if I can help do that for you, and you can all do that back where you're at, we want to do that. And go ahead.
Dude, that's amazing. I'm just so grateful for you sharing here. And I love what you said at the end there, man, how you now bless other people. And then the end part of that statement really struck me as like, as you bless other people, it's not on the recipient end. It's not just for us to receive that blessing, but it's now for us to pass that stuff on too. So everything you're learning, go and do something with it. But more than that, like bless somebody else with it.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about you.
Yeah. This is Eli. Some of you may know him. At one point, he told me I was homeless, and I found, your material, Doug, and he now, whenever there is a disaster, this is him. They went over to the Philippines, and when you want something bad enough, you'll make it happen. They weren't allowing anybody in except first responders or medical staff, so they all bought medical scrubs.
Oh, man.
And they brought emergency supplies, and they found the local hospital, and they set up a triage center. But he's doing this because of the information he put into practice.
Yeah.
All right. So this is exactly what we're about. Create the cash flow, support your life vision. So, and just FYI, I have gotten back all of them. It's been updated to the most current version of InDesign, and now we're just making those changes. And I'll get back with you, and we'll go through that. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much, Doug. If people want to track you down, is that something I didn't ask you in this in advance, and so
Sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to pass out your email. Do you prefer they reach? I don't even know if are you on Facebook? Are you in our private Life in Your Community?
I'm in the community. And here's what I ask, because like there comes a time where it's like, yes, I have a hat. I do get paid to do this. This is part of my expertise. And there's a fine line between giving, advice and or teaching people a seminar for free. And we do need to put every single one of you, we all need to value, your time's valuable. And so I don't mind answering a question now and then. But yeah, wait till the book comes out.
Let's do that, man. So if you have a small question for Doug, maybe post it in Life in Our closed Facebook group. We'll refrain from handing out any personal information, contact information. The Facebook group should be great. And otherwise, just hang tight, because we're working on this. It's an awesome, I went through this. It was extensive. This course was A to Z, like nuts and bolts. It's not high level. It's really getting down into the nitty gritty, and it was fantastic. So it's going to take some time to get that done. But once we get it done, you will be the first to know. Let's just give Doug a huge thanks for being on the line right now, man. Thanks for sharing your time, your expertise, your heart for helping others. And I love it, man. We'll have to end. And by the way, Doug's been on the Life in Our show twice. He's spoken at our summit, man. You're just a giver, man. I love you, dude.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.